If you're having trouble getting out of the loop, then pay attention to this video. In this video, you'll learn my personal formula on how I turn a loop into a full track. Getting out of the loop is one of the most common challenges that music producers have. So having a simple arrangement template is a useful tool. Sometimes formulas get a bad rap, but it's all about using it as a tool and being creative within the framework. It just helps with the creative process. Otherwise, it's hard to find a direction with a blank canvas. By the way, my name is STRANJAH, and if you want to improve your music production and sound design, especially with drum and bass and dance music, then this channel is for you. So I did a DnB arrangement video early in my YouTube career, and it's been one of my most popular videos to date. So let's have a refresher on how to arrange a drum and bass jungle track using one of the most common song structures. If you haven't seen that video, you can find it in the link below. In this video, I'm going to be creating a 90s style tearing jungle track. However, you can use this framework for whatever genre you make. Alright, without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so the first step to creating this jungle track that I'm going to work on today is selecting a couple of samples as the basis of my track. So I'm going to be using samples from a couple different packs that DJ Crystal, the legendary jungle producer, sent me. For those that don't know, DJ Crystal is a pioneering jungle producer from early 90s. He's created some legendary tracks. You only need to search his name on YouTube. You'll find an assortment of old school tracks that he made back in the day. Actually, a lot of these have been remastered in 2022, so they're sounding fresh. So you know this guy is legit. One thing I didn't know about DJ Crystal is he produced hip-hop back in the 90s as well. He had some awesome old school boom bap hip-hop sounds. You can check out this track as well on YouTube. The first pack he sent me is called Tearing Drums, and this is an assortment of breakbeats that he's created from individual drum hits and selected breakbeat layers. So he's meticulously crafted 50 breaks from scratch, and these all sound super fresh. So I highly recommend you guys to check it out. Here's a preview of some of the breaks from this pack. And these breaks sound super fresh, all originally crafted from hits and different breakbeat layers to create fresh new breaks. And the other pack that he sent me is called Futurism, which is an atmospherics and pads pack. These are sounds selected from his 90s sample archive. So these sounds are guaranteed to have that vintage, nostalgic 90s jungle sound. They're super deep and love the lush vibe of these samples. Here's a couple of my favorite samples from this pack. This Atlantis one has a cool vibe. He's also included a number of these impact and riser sounds. So if you want that really lush golden era jungle sound, this Futurism pack is awesome. So once again, the packs are called Tearing Drums and Futurism. And if you're interested in learning about these two packs, you can find the links down below. Alright, onto the breaks I've selected from the DJ Crystal pack for this project. The first one is this break. I just thought this break will be a nice sound to introduce in the intro. It kind of has that fret again rolling snare vibe. If you guys are drum and bass fans, you must have seen the fret again clip where he plays this live. I'm not saying this is the exact same pattern as Fred again, but it has that vibe that with those rolling snares. I thought this is an interesting break to use for this jungle track. And by the way, I'll be making my track at 170 beats per minute. And then here's this break that I think I'm going to use as the main break of our track. It's nice and heavy. Kind of has a no U-turn Ed Rush vibe. Also has a bit of techage in there. And here's a really heavy Amen to be used as a second drop. And then finally I found this break. I thought this break would be great as a cut to switch between the main drop to add some variation. So all 4 of these breaks are sourced from the DJ Crystal Tyrian Drums pack. So since jungle and drum and bass music is break and drums heavy, these 4 breaks will serve as the foundation of my composition. So we're going to focus on building the intro first. So once again, we're going to be using this break as the intro. So we have the intro drums established. So the next piece is I wanted to have a very epic, nostalgic vibe created using a pad. So I've selected this epic chord by DJ Crystal from his Futurism pack. It just has that golden era kind of metalheads vibe, which is perfect for the intro. So with these kind of pads, the best way to do it jungle style is to put it into a sampler and just start jamming along and find a melody you like. I don't necessarily follow any kind of music theory. I just play by ear. Essentially, that's what the old school producers just did. It's all about vibe, right? So with this pad, I just played these 3 notes. And that's why I think it's important to have a MIDI controller, because you can actually play the notes and vibe it out, as opposed to having to click and draw notes in. You aren't really able to jam and vibe it out if you're using the mouse. So I encourage you to find a MIDI controller. Actually, I just got a new MIDI controller thanks to the guys at Novation. I'm using the Launch Key 61, and this one's integrated with Ableton, so it's really nice and handy. But we'll talk more about the Launch 61 in a future video, but just find it very nice to use in Ableton. So here's the pad melody I'm going for, and it's these 3 notes, C, A, and F, and essentially it's actually major triad going from F, A, C. It's just I'm playing it down the scale. Here it is with the break. So the important thing with writing music is you got to listen and kind of feel it out. So as I was writing this pad and the breaks, immediately I felt that there should be some kind of intro sub bass to kind of help with the vibe. So all the bass sounds I'll be using today will be presets from a new pack for Massive X coming out soon on Deviant Audio. It's my personal vault of bass presets that I designed over the last 3 years for Massive X. I'll just play you a couple previews of some of the presets in this pack. So it's got an assortment of grimy bass sounds, 808s, foghorns, house stabs, respaces, wobbles, and wubs, and everything in between. So that's just a preview of some sounds forthcoming on the Massive X preset pack. It is unreleased for now. If you want the latest updates about this pack, just use the link down below about Massive X. I'll send you an update on the release date. So I'm using the 808 bass preset from the Massive X pack. I just felt it needed something subtle for the intro, something thumping like this. Again, being able to feel it and play it out is important. So this is the pattern for the 808. Let's listen to it over the break and pad. It just adds to the anticipation of the intro before the main drop. So I felt that the intro required a couple more sounds. Remember in the previous video, I'm big on building musical beds, which is kind of like a wall of sound. And it just makes it easier to arrange once you have a wall of sound or layers of sound selected. So I thought that some old school house vocals would work well with this kind of vibe. So this is a simple loop from Splice from an old school house pack. And here's another vocal from the house pack from Splice as well.
Set me free. Set me free. Set me free. Set me free.
I just added a bunch of delay, a half note delay to this vocal to kind of really dub it out. Here it is with all the other sounds. So that's pretty much the intro. So let's move on to the drop. So here's the break from the crystal pack that I'm using as the main drop, that heavy break. I felt that it needed a shaker to add more energy. I just thought having shakers is a nice option for arrangement because you can have 116 bar block without the shaker, and then the next 16 bar block has the shaker, and that's an easy way to add more interest and movement and development in your arrangement. So this is a shaker loop from the OG Jungle sample pack. And over the break, it just sounds like this. It just adds more energy to the break. And then for the bass, I was kind of inspired by some DnB, namely Acid tracks. So I'm using the Acid stab bass from the Massive X pack. It's simply playing a melody like this. Now I purposely made this pattern 4 bars because I felt that after the acid bass, it called for a call and response with a completely different bass preset. So I've shown this in previous videos, but here's an easy way to write call and response. So I have 2 instruments, that acid bass, and here's the 808 from the Massive X pack as well. I just adjusted it with some of the custom macros to make it sound more distorted. So what you can do is select the acid bass clip, hold shift, and select the drop bass clip, which is empty. And now you have both the clips selected. So now you can write 2 sounds at the same time. So this is a very helpful way to write call and response. And simply notice at the top, the green bar represents the drop bass, and the purple represents the acid. So you can activate and write notes for the corresponding sound by just clicking and activating this section. So I want to write the green notes, which is the drop bass. So I'm going to click on the green bar here, and now I can add in a drop bass. Because of this view, you can see where the acid bass ends, so you know where you can fill it with a response note, right? So this makes writing call and response really easily. And if you wanted to edit the purple notes, just activate the purple section with the bar on top. And now you can maybe add a second note here if you like, right? It makes it very easy to write 2 sounds at the same time. So very helpful. So here's the call and response bass sounds with the drums together. That's sounding super heavy. The next thing I did was I duplicated this drop. So I'm creating scenes here. So we have the intro, we have the drop, and then I have the aim and drop. The aim and drop is simply a copy of our drop, but I'm replacing those drums with the aim in. So this is what we have. The only thing that changed is that I've switched the heavy drum break with the aim and break. Finally, let's work on the switch up. So the switch up is using this Kodo break by Crystal. And then I thought a completely different bass sound would make sense with this section. So I selected the Reese patch from the Massive X pack and playing this melody. I was just vibing up, but after as I wrote this melody, I thought, that actually reminds me of a Future Cut track. Comment down below if you know which track I'm talking about. So here's the switch up. So now I have 4 completely different scenes programmed in the session view. I have the intro, the drop, the switch, and the aim and drop. And by creating these different scenes, it's easy to kind of perform and kind of test out how the different scenes would switch and play off each other. So we can try triggering each of these scenes successively. As you can see, it's super fun. All you had to do is just start triggering these scenes in succession. And just make sure on the top left, the global quantize is set to 1 bar. That just ensures that the preceding scene finishes an entire bar before the next scene activates and plays. So it keeps everything in time. So that's how I'm able to go between different sections and it plays seamlessly. So this is a super fun way to kind of test and feel out your arrangement. So once we have all these scenes together, we can then start thinking about how this would be placed into your arrangement view. So to make it easier to arrange, here's an arrangement template I'm using for jungle, drum and bass, and I'll include this in the link down below with the Massive X updates. So if you sign up with that link, you'll receive updates on the Massive X pack as well as a free download of this arrangement template. Essentially what you're seeing here is I split the arrangement into intro, body, or the drop with the main body, and then you got a breakdown where it's a rest, and then the second body or second drop, and then you got an outro. So essentially I use the term block. So one of these blocks is 16 bars. So just remember, when I say block, it just means a 16 bar segment. So the intro comprises of 3 blocks. And it doesn't have to take up all 3. I just have it as a placeholder. Sometimes I start the track here, so the intro is only 2 blocks. It's up to you. And then I have the body, which is 4 blocks. And then you have a breakdown, which is 2 blocks, followed by the second body, which is 4 blocks. And then you have an outro, which could be 1 or 2 bar blocks. It's up to you. So essentially what I'm visualizing here is we have the intro and then we have the body. And what we can do with the body is we can have that heavy break run for 2 blocks, and then the aim in can come in for the next 2 blocks. And you can see how having all the breaks selected, it makes it easy to fill out the arrangement, because I already have that envision for the track. And then the breakdown could be the intro with some sounds removed to take out some of the energy. And then the body could be just the heavy break for 2 blocks and then the amen for 2 blocks again. So it's kind of a copy of the first body, but we'll change up some sounds in the second body to add some variation. And the outro could also be some sounds from the intro as well, with some sounds removed or rearranged. So what I'm going to do is, to help with this story, is block of the body and the second block of the body are essentially copies. But what I can do is, remember I said we're going to introduce a shaker. So the shaker can be added on the second block here, and that's an easy way to make the second body second block different from the first block. So these are kind of cheats on how you can get through the arrangement and build it out and keep things interesting. So having this template, it becomes really easy to fill out the arrangement. So what you can do is we can switch back to the session view and just, for example, go on the intro scene and then right click and copy, or just Control Command C and copy the intro scene. And go back to the arrangement view, click on the very top track here and then paste, and then just zoom in and fill it out, right? So we can just drag. So all clips of a common length will drag together. So there's one block, and we can simply highlight and then Command D to duplicate and copy and paste it in the breakdown as well as the outro. So we have 3 sections filled out, and then we can go back to the drop on the session view, copy that scene. Now go back here and paste it on the body. Just make sure all the clips are the same length. So click and drag. So there. So the body will be here, and remember we're going to be duplicating it, so it's 2 blocks. And then this section here will be the amen. So we'll go to the amen drop, copy it, and then click at the very top bar here and just paste. Again, just drag it out. Okay, that's 1 block. And then we can duplicate, and now we have it filled out. And we can copy this entire section and then paste it on the second body, and easily we have created our arrangement. Of course, we're going to have to carve things in and out to make this more like a track with seamless transitions, but we have the basis of, or foundation of, our track here. Now remember, we have that switch up. So we can click on the switch up, copy it, and click on the very top bar and paste it here. And that's filled out the switch up. So we can go from here. We might as well do it for the amen section as well. So delete it and paste. Delete this part and paste. And easily we've created a switch up, and we've added some variation at the end of each block. So from here, you can remove certain sounds to help with the intro. So remember, we said we can introduce that shaker, which is here. And we can take it out on the first block and take it out for the first block of the amen. And that's how you can easily introduce movement. What you want to see is the arrangement change as the track progresses. So here's the arrangement after an hour or 2 of work. Essentially, once you have the main foundation laid out in your arrangement, I call the process sculpting. Essentially, what you're doing is you're sculpting pieces out, removing certain sounds, inserting switch ups and transitions, and adding automation to tell a story and create movement and development in your track. So the process of sculpting is a great analogy, because you're taking pieces out layer by layer, and the more you sculpt out, the closer you are to the final product, right? So this is what I ended up with. I added this switch up after 3 bars of the main break. I added the amen here, so like this. I also added some filter automations to the amen to make it sound cool, to give that 90s vibe. What else did I do? And then give you a bird's eye view. So you can see that on the second block here, the drop bass changes. So I added additional notes to the drop bass to make it a little bit different from the main part. So this second note just adds to it. Okay, and then the second body, instead of repeating it, I replaced the entire bass section with a completely new pattern. Instead of that acid bass stab, I'm using the Reese bass from the Massive pack, but playing a 4-bar melody. So this is what we have. And then at the end of that block, I have this 2-bar section with the drop sub playing this note. Okay, so now we have this as the second drop, and this makes it more interesting. What you notice is, aside from the bass, the drum section mirrors the first body. So there's some symmetry in this arrangement. And what I like that about arrangements, when there's some kind of symmetry, but there's also a bit of difference on the second part to add some variation. So notice this section, the drum section, is exactly the same. I guess, except for this part, I added a different break here when it switches up from the amen, but essentially it mirrors the first with some subtle differences. And then for the intro, all I did was I removed certain sounds such as the vocals. I added filter automation to the vocals to filter it in so it doesn't sound as repetitive, and that's an easy way to create more movement in your track and develop the story. I added some impact sounds and reverse cymbals to help with transitions. Also muted some sounds at the end of the bar block, at the end of the certain blocks before things change. That also helps with the arrangement as well. A couple sounds we didn't talk about actually. In the intro, I did this thing where it switches up between a ride and a shaker. This is a common thing done in the 90s with Jungle to add some variation in your top percussion. It's just a simple layer, but notice how it adds more interest to the intro with this kind of pattern. As opposed to the ride playing throughout. It just makes it a bit cooler. Also, I added this bongo loop from OG Jungle in the breakdown. It just adds another element in the breakdown to kind of create some more development in the story of this track. So hopefully you understand my process of creating the foundation of your arrangement and then sculpting pieces out until you have that final piece of work. So now that you understand my process and what I did throughout this arrangement, let's check out the track in full. Oh yeah, and we have some jungle vibes. Hope you enjoyed watching my process of arranging a full track. Remember to use the template only as a tool to be creative with. You're welcome to change the template as you like. You can make the body shorter or longer, the breakdowns shorter or longer, and so forth. Remember, if you have a number of sections or scenes sketched out, it makes filling in the arrangement much easier. Once you have the foundation established, then you can use the process of sculpting, which is removing sounds and adding switch ups and transitions to help the development of your track. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. All that helps my channel grow. Also, if you want to support, I have a number of sample and preset packs as well as Ableton templates to help you with your creativity. And you can find it down in the links below. And remember, you can check out DJ Crystal's Tearing Drums and Futurism pack also down in the links below. If you haven't seen my popular drum and bass arrangement video, you can check it out here. Also, if you want to learn 7 awesome tricks for amens, check this video up here. Alright, that's pretty much it for today, guys. Thanks for watching, keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next video.